What if I told you that at a Turning Point USA event in December 2025, Vice President J.D. Vance declared, "In America, you no longer have to apologize for being white."
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
What if I told you that when Charlie Kirk was assassinated in September 2025, he received a national holiday within 1 month, but it took Dr. Martin Luther King's family 15 years of fighting to get the same recognition? And what if I told you that this isn't new, that this exact pattern of white Christian power being used to justify oppression, violence, and supremacy has been operating for over 500 years? This didn't start in 2025. This didn't start with Christian nationalism. This didn't even start with Jim Crow. This started with European colonization, and it has never stopped. Now, just to be clear, the purpose of this video is never to sow discord. I understand. Talking about Black history, especially the plight of Blacks in America, isn't easy, but it is necessary. Now, before I walk you through how white Christian power has been weaponized from the 1400s through Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, the song that exposed lynching to the world, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because understanding this pattern is the only way to recognize it when it repeats itself today. You see, I was first introduced to the reality of religion and racial oppression as a kid. Unfortunately, it came by way of a family argument. When I was growing up, my mother had a very strong desire that my late sister Candy, Lord rest her soul, and I have what she perceived to be the best education. Her efforts to achieve that was by putting us in private Catholic schools. Of course, that came with a cost that was believed to be a strain on our family. And it was within that argument that I heard the words from my father when he said, and I quote, "Why do you think we should give our hard-earned money to those hypocritical, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white folks that have praised Jesus for years while lynching us at the same time?" He went on to say, "Have you forgotten those white Christians got mad at President JFK for siding with Dr. Martin Luther King? Have you forgotten that it was those white Christians that wanted King dead, and both of them were killed?" Afterwards, my father and I had a few conversations about what he said, but I was young. I really wasn't able to grasp what he meant until I went to Tennessee State University. It was there that I saw the magnitude of what my father had said when I was young. That conversation then moved from my house to my grandparents' house, who lived 2 doors down. As my mother was trying to explain the argument to my grandparents, one of my sisters began singing, "Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood on the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees." It was at that moment that I was introduced to Billie Holiday. The history of violence and suppression of people of color in the modern world begins with European colonization from the 15th century onward. European powers, notably Spain, Portugal, England, France, and the Netherlands, established vast empires across Africa, the Americas, and Asia. While economic and political motives were dominant, Christian religious language and theology were frequently used to justify conquest, enslavement, and the subjugation of indigenous people and Africans. Some missionaries sought to convert local populations. Others reinforced ideas that non-European people were inferior outside of God's favor or in need of European colonizing and civilizing. These interpretations helped legitimize exploitation, forced cultural change, and racial hierarchy that continued for centuries. This origin of race-based oppression provided a framework in which white and Christian became intertwined with power, property, and citizenship in many societies, particularly in the Americas. In what became the Americas, chattel slavery of Africans and their descendants grew into a central economic and social system from the early 1600s through the Civil War. Many Europeans and European Americans invoked scripture, such as stories like the Curse of Ham, to defend the rationalized and enslavement of Black people, claiming God sanctioned the racial order. While not universal amongst Christians, powerful religious voices in the American colonies and early republic used Christianity to defend slavery and racial inequality. Even after slavery was abolished in 1865, the intertwining of racial hierarchy and Christianity often continued. White Christian communities in the South, in particular, developed religious interpretations that supported segregation, exclusion, and discriminatory laws. Some pastors publicly defended racial discrimination practices as moral and divinely justified. So, if you're starting to see how religion was used as a weapon to justify enslaving human beings, and you're wondering how does this connect with what's happening in 2025, stay with me because the pattern gets worse before it gets better. Following the Civil War, Black Americans gained temporary political power during Reconstruction from 1865 to 1877. However, with the end of Reconstruction, Southern states implemented Jim Crow laws, state and local laws enforcing racial segregation and disenfranchisement. Although framed in terms of separate but equal, these laws denied Black people equal access to education, voting rights, public accommodations, and opportunities for economic advancement. Powerful resistance to civil rights legislation and anti-lynching bills by white Southern politicians, many who claimed Christian convictions, illustrates how religious identity was used to defend white supremacy. For example, in the earliest 20th century, bipartisan coalitions blocked federal anti-lynching measures in Congress, defeating bills like the Dyer Anti Lynching Bill through filibusters and political opposition. The Dyer Anti Lynching Bill, introduced by Congressman Leonidas C. Dyer in 1918, was a landmark federal bill to make lynching a crime targeting mob violence against African Americans, particularly in the Jim Crow South, by allowing federal prosecution and punishing complicit officials and fining counties where lynching was occurred. Do your research. Yes, folks. Many white Christians refused to pass a bill that would make killing Black people illegal. During Jim Crow, the Ku Klux Klan emerged as a violent organization targeting Black citizens, civil rights advocates, and others who challenged racial hierarchy. On Thanksgiving night on November 25th, 1915, William Joseph Simmons, a white Methodist preacher, and 15 other men climbed Stone Mountain in what is now DeKalb, Georgia. He built an altar and set fire to a cross. He called it a sacrifice or a memorial to the original Klan to mark the order's rebirth. This event was timed with the local premiere of D.W. Griffith's racist silent film, The Birth of a Nation, which glorified the original KKK and served as a powerful recruiting tool. The KKK often held rallies with religious overtones, crosses burned as symbols combining religious imagery with terror. Now let that set in. And they asserted that racial segregation and white supremacy were divinely sanctioned.
God made him black, and he made us white. And you will find this laid out in the 11th chapter of Genesis, in which he segregated the races.
Stay with me, because we're talking about the actions of white Christians. Now, if you're connecting the dots from God-sanctioned slavery to God-sanctioned segregation to a Methodist preacher building an altar on Stone Mountain to rebirth the KKK, make sure you're subscribed, because what comes next shows how this religious justification enabled the most horrific violence America has ever seen. Between the late 1800s and the mid-20th centuries, lynchings, extrajudicial killing by mobs, often by hanging, became a common form of racial terror aimed at Black communities. Thousands of Black men and women were lynched, often with no legal consequence for the perpetrators. These acts were public spectacles meant to intimidate entire communities and deter political participation and economic advancement. White communities sometimes treated lynchings as social entertainment, inviting large crowds to even creating postcards of lynching scenes. Churches and religious leaders were not always voices of justice. In some communities, sermons and religious rhetoric were recast to support segregation and condemn racial equality efforts, or to rationalize the political order that allowed lynchings to continue. Amid this long history of racial violence, one powerful cultural protest emerged in the arts. Billie Holiday's 1939 recording of Strange Fruit, the song, written as a poem by Abel Meeropol and set to music, used stark imagery to confront the reality of lynching in America. The lyrics evoked images of Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, confronting listeners with a metaphor that made it impossible to ignore the brutality that mainstream society, mostly Christians, often sought to dismiss. Holiday performed the song with intense emotional gravity, ending shows with it and creating a deliberate silence so audiences could reflect on its meaning. Strange Fruit became a central protest song in the struggle for racial justice. It exposed listeners, both Black and white, to the terror inflicted on Black Americans and challenged audiences to confront a reality that many preferred to overlook. Holiday herself faced hostility for performing the song. Go figure. Government officials at the time tried to suppress her performances, and law enforcement pressures intensified against her in subsequent years. Actions widely interpreted as retaliation for her protest voice. Retaliation initiated by many white Christians. From 1400s European colonization to 1939's Strange Fruit, we've traced how white Christian power has been used to justify conquest, slavery, segregation, and lynching. But the pattern didn't end with Billie Holiday. It continued through the civil rights movement. It's operating now in 2025. And if we don't recognize it, it will continue. In the next video, I'm going to show you how the exact same ideology, Christian nationalism, is being used today to suppress voting rights, erase Black history, and justify the same supremacy that burned crosses on Stone Mountain in 1915. Now, if this video connected dots you've never seen connected before, from the curse of Ham to justifying slavery to a Methodist preacher building an altar to rebirth the KKK, to the government retaliating against Billie Holiday for singing about lynching, I need you to do 4 things right now. First, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Part 2 of this series shows how this pattern is operating in 2025, and you need to see it. Second, like this video and share it. This is the history they're trying to erase. Don't let them. Third, leave a comment and answer these questions so others can learn. Question 1. Did you know that white Christians blocked anti-lynching bills in Congress? How does that change your understanding of religious justification for violence? 2. Have you heard Billie Holiday's strange fruit? How does knowing that the government retaliated against her for that song change how you hear it? 3. When you see images of crosses burning by the KKK, how does it feel knowing that a Methodist preacher called it a sacrifice on an altar on Stone Mountain? 4th, and this is crucial, explore the sources and books on this topic in our complete Black History Library at the link in the description and in the pinned comments below. Part 2 is coming. The pattern continues, and you need to see it. Don't let them erase this history. Subscribe, share, and get ready for part 2. I'll see you at the next video. Take care.